Time is a touchy subject in this series, and to be fair, the anime itself doesn't make it much easier. Take episode 63 of the original series, Battle of the Badge. Ash says, "I can't believe it's been a whole year since we were here." So, it had been a year by that point, right? Well, I guess in 4Kids lore, in the sub, he gives a much more generic, "It's been a while." That keeps the timeline ambiguous, as Pokemon prefers to do. Then of course there's the offspring Lei being born between Alola and Galar, meaning it took less time for Lei to be born than for Ash to travel 8 whole regions. Talk about a speedrun. And that's nothing to say of the anniversaries they like to acknowledge. Still, keeping the timeline vague has ultimately been the goal. Surely pertinent too in keeping the boy 10 all the way from Indigo to Journeys. Now we have Liko, Roy, and Dot come along to tear all that apart in Horizons. A series that's been allowed to do several things that Ash and the May never could. Like evolve the main character's starter, have a plot, and now they're giving us a time skip. This could potentially mean huge things for the series going forward. Noticeably absent is Amethio and the rest of the Explorers. I wonder if they would have disbanded without Gibeon, or perhaps have Hamber come in as a successor. Here is what it looks like for the main trio. Arc 5's called Mega Voltage, which is a sweet title, but it's also surely a nod to Gen 6. Mega Evolution, and it reminds me of the first XY opening, Volt, a certified banger. Going back to Kalos in both game and anime is basically a foolproof way to get ratings going. You could say the return to Kalos is playing it safe, something I do think Horizons tends to do. Take a look at these teams as an example. The trio's been aged. Feels like Roy's got the biggest glow up. Him, like Liko and Dot, have all gotten taller. Liko's mom even tells her the same in episode 46. Foreshadowing? That was also a physical depiction that's never been ascribed to the previous protagonist. Roy's also got a killer jawline now. In this poster, he seems to have lost his cap. And speaking of cap, Roy's also becoming more of a diet Friede. His new jacket's got the same color scheme as Friede's. There have always been parallels between the two. Roy's Kilowattrel and Crocalor have the same typing as Friede's Pikachu and Charizard even. Speaking of Cap, he's got a new trainer. Well, that's what people seem to think. I feel like he's just traveling with Roy. Cap doesn't seem as smug as usual. Makes me think something unfavorable's happened to Friede, leaving the mouse with just the goggles that, if you look closely enough, are cracked. Uh-oh. Though we do see the RBT ship in the background, so we should expect the other crew members in this arc too. Then there's the elephant, or jackal in the room, Shiny Lucario. Makes sense what with it being the mascot of Mega Evolution, but I can't understand people being Lucario'd out. There's Riley's, Karina's, Ash's, and that's not even an exhaustive list. They distinguished Roy's by making it sickly, or shiny. Clearly a callback to the Shiny Lucario mystery gif in Scarlet Violet. It's really only a problem if you think there's better Megas for Roy. Like, I could even see him with the Mega Slowbro. Definitely has a ditzy vibe similar to Crocalor's to me. I'm just curious on the backstory of Roy's now second shiny, Lucius willing he gets to keep Rayquaza, plus the Z-Ring. Looks like they want to save Crocalor's evolution for on-screen, which is totally fair. Much like its role in the series, Kilowattrel's just kinda there. We got this new character in the back, the only other one with a Mega, Sableye, looking like a rival for Roy. His Sableye's dark typing would even have a resistance to Lucario's fighting type moves. Design-wise, I think he's fine. The hair seems to be the main selling point, but it doesn't do that much for me. Aside from that, he kinda looks like he has the potential to be annoying. Just a hyperactive boy. That said, Horizon's characters are written solid, so I won't write this one off till he's introduced. If he sparks a rivalry with Roy, it'd be a good way to explore different Megas, so I imagine this series taking place in Kalos, tying in with ZA. I could see them running into this buoyant boy in Lumio City. Wonder if he would even join the Volt Tacklers. In the background we got Dot, who has no visible changes to her team. Again, I'm sure they want to save the starter evolutions to be seen on screen, though I bet they could have made it work in flashback form. Tinka Tough is Tinka Tiny way in the back, so maybe she's not due for that much screen time. Dot has the same color scheme, but is rocking some kind of skirt jacket now. As far as her update goes, I prefer Dot with short hair. This is an easy way to show time passing, since hair do be needing time to grow. I just think it makes her look a bit girlier than what her character is. Unless that's what they're going for, but I just like Dot with her neutral yet feisty attitude. Now that she's grown up, I wonder if she'll continue the Nidothing streams, which we haven't seen in a hot minute. On to Liko, she seems like much of the same. At least in the face, you can't really tell a difference. She put her hair up, I guess it took her 2 or 3 years to do that. I don't mind the shorts, they look sporty, and the top's pretty close to the first. Terapagos is tuckered in its Pokeball, so wonder if it's gone dormant. That'd be unfortunate since we only got to see her battle with it like once. Depending on how its energy is used to purify the Loquium, it could end up out of commission again. A lot of people seem to want a Mega Gardevoir for her team, while others worry about the type overlap with Hatena. Though, if they gave Roy to electric types, that doesn't seem to be something they care about. I'm hoping they introduce new Megas and Liko catches one of those. If she were to get an existing one, I could see her with a Mega Mawile. for the added type coverage, a counterpart to that Sableye, and the extension of the magical girl vibes we got going on with her new Meowscarada. Although of the trio only Roy has the Mega, all three of them will probably keep representing Terastal, especially with the plot that seems to involve Terapagos. One thing that gets me curious is how the tone will shift. I gotta say it, I do wonder if it will stay the same or get any more mature, at least for this series. Time skips typically bring darker tones. An edgier Pokemon series is something fans have clamored about for decades, speculated on how to do so for just as long, whether that be a separate series that runs simultaneously or bumping up the main series. A time skip provides a natural opportunity to test the waters with that, though I wouldn't hold my breath as Pokemon has not seemed interested in changing target audiences for near 30 years so. Dragon Ball is much more whimsical throughout than the much more dreadful themes in Z. Shippuden gets edgier after the OG Naruto, and while I wouldn't say One Piece as a whole is much darker, there's definitely less time for jokes. It makes sense, why do a jump in time just to keep the tone the exact same? So I wonder what that will look like along with what the plot will be. Judging just by the visuals, it seems like a rescue, restore, and recover arc. Rescue Friede, who is hopefully still alive, once again restore the Teraturtle's power, and recover the ancient Pokeballs. The other big looming question: what does this mean for the return of the previous cast? By default, would they have to be older? Well, of course, that depends on if Horizons is before or after the Ashname. If it's before, Ash can return as the same prepubescent he's always been. If Horizons runs concurrently or after, then they'd have to age them up. If these series are even in the same universe to begin with. I feel like Horizons takes place at the same time or after. Just judging by the technology of the world, including the Rotom phones. Going back to tone, whether deserved or not, people applaud the XY anime for feeling, well, like an anime. More serious in tone and even an older looking Ash. This would be a peak opportunity to see old characters in thematically new circumstances, whether they were to return in this arc or a future one. I don't picture this time skip being more than like 3 years, which would be a perfect age to have Ash and Co return. For Ash in particular, at 13, he'd still be young and boyish enough to maintain the traits of the character he's known for, while also giving the near 3-decade-long satisfaction of seeing the main cast age canonically. There is something about the vibe of Mega Voltage that feels unique. Maybe it's the ship in the background, but it almost gives space exploration vibes. If Rayquaza remains a focus, imagine if it can Mega Evolve. That might be what this poster's going for. I'm also curious where Horizons will put its focus. Will it continue to lean into its storytelling strengths, or focus that energy on the action XY is notable for? This arc is also a fresh start unlike we've seen before, one that opens up possibilities for new and old characters. It isn't lost on me how Horizons attempts to keep an absurdly long-running series feel fresh after all this time, and they have certainly got the buzz going. The anticipation in this fandom is palpable right now, and I'm pretty psyched to see where it leads. So if you enjoyed, please drop a like and sub as we explore Mega Voltage April 11th.